Welcome, everyone. May I ask everyone to sit down if anybody is still at the registration desk? We are starting. So welcome to the Global Development Conference, the flagship event of the Global Development Network, hosted this year by the government of Fiji and, of course, our partner at the University of South Pacific. I'm not going to venture into good morning, good afternoon, etc., because actually we have over 700 people who registered from for the conference across 106 countries. So I think some people will be very sleepy by now. The people who are following us online will be just. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Francesco Bino. I work for GDN. I head the Research and Programs Unit at the Global Development Network, and I'll be the MC for these 3 days. So I'll help you navigate the program. Just a couple of words, and we'll move straight into the opening ceremony. This is a rather special edition of the Global Development Conference for a number of reasons. We'll hear more about this throughout the 3 days, but let me mention 3 reasons. First, it marks the 25th anniversary of the Global Development Network. GDN was created in 99, so a quarter of a century. So we're very proud of still being around. The second is that we're back in the Pacific, which is great. The Pacific was always part of GDN from very early on, and we're very glad to be back. And with an extraordinary partner like the University of South Pacific, a university that exists, brings together 12 countries, 14 campuses. I think it's an exceptional institution. And I think the third reason is obviously that the government of Fiji has decided to join GDN as a member state. So I think we're extremely proud of that. And this conference marks that great step as well. So as I said, we'll hear more about this during these 3 days. Just a couple of notes to help you navigate the next 2 days, practical notes. First, the structure of the conference. This year, we're trying a slightly different structure for the conference. So as you have seen in the program, the mornings are plenaries that will be in this room, and the afternoons are workshops and parallel sessions. So we put many more workshops than previous editions, because we realize that sometimes the best things at conferences are coffee breaks, where we meet people. And the chance we have to chat in small groups. And so we really wanted to embrace this, and we put as many workshops as we could, so that people can work in smaller groups and meet each other and talk, not just listen. You have an app, and I hope you all have installed it on your phone. The app will give you exactly the timings, updated timings of the sessions. The app is where you will find the most updated information about venue, start times of your session. So please use it as much as you can and check it regularly, because we might also push some notification through the app about changes in the program. The second thing is that, as my taxi driver yesterday told me while I was coming here, it was pouring, yeah? And nobody expected rain in the end of November in Fiji, yeah? And the driver told me, this is climate change, sir. Yes, it's climate change. So we might ask you to walk the talk when we talk about resilience. So if it means walking through the rain to get your coffee, I think we appreciate you doing that. That's it. Let's move to the opening ceremony. I'd like to invite our two guests for the opening ceremony to join us on the stage. For the Global Development Network, we have Professor Jean-Louis Arcan, our president. Please come to the stage. And for the University of South Pacific, we have Professor Sushil Kumar, Director of Research. Welcome. And the garland for our guests, I think. Yeah, you can see, yes. Let's give our guests a round of applause. Thank you. And now we will have the Yagona ceremony, which is a welcome ceremony for international and a blessing from Obanwa for this 3-day conference. Enjoy.
No. Wasana davuya navula kabiri dau pakara Nasinga lakun tumberi navat Sara nangel Sandomia Bagitan Sa solenga kenanga sangat Galasutan ako na maturanga. Pagate utamba saratu nakula usara bato kanonda sabu Kanona roka kanano manimboro iko nakalombola tekilu nakalombola samba suta penalo Umatala kenala nini miringanu saratu kena sang Kapten kita kali. Dosa. Dosa oye. Mother. Mother. Masalah kon baturang. Bongo.
Now we go back to both of you for the opening, your opening remarks. Thank you very much. Just.
Okay. Thought the kava was going to be intoxicating, but what's intoxicating are these flowers. They smell really good, and they're and I disagree with Francesco. The best stuff doesn't happen at coffee breaks. It happens at beer after the conference in the evening. So I'm going to try not to bore you too much, because you want to get on with the fun stuff and the intellectual stuff of this meat of this conference. But let me just, let me start off by just saying, all the distinguished guests in this room, thank you for being here. Colleagues, it's not working. I can do it without a mic too, and that's not a problem. I'm a university professor, so I'm used to yelling at people. Anyway, colleagues, chers amis. So it's a great honor for GDN to welcome all of you here for our 2024 conference. And I would be remiss if I didn't begin by thanking the government of Fiji for hosting us, and to USP for being our local partner. Thank you really very, very much. I want to thank everyone who's in this room and the people who are online. Let's not forget the people online in these post-COVID days for making this conference possible. I think the statistics are sort of moving all the time. I had different numbers. I had 97 countries and 750 participants, but these numbers fluctuate all the time. But anyway, we have like roughly 100 countries represented at the conference, which is pretty damn impressive. And the other thing which is really impressive is we've got gender parity, which is pretty damn rare as well. So 50-50. I would also be remiss. You can see here. I'll let other people get into the nitty gritty, dans les pâquerettes. I really want to thank all of our sponsors and partners, and you can see all the logos there. And there's a whole bunch of them. Some of these are new partners and sponsors. Some of them are long-standing partners and sponsors. We thank all of them, and we'll get to each and every one of you in due course. Now, just so that you know, I'm Canadian. That's what my passport says. I'm actually born in the Cameroon, so I'm one of the whitest Africans you'll ever see, at least West Africans you'll ever see. And I grew up all over the place in the Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Tanzania, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Italy, Hungary. What am I forgetting? Denmark. Yes, my parents weren't CIA. They were Canadian diplomats. So I'm a development economist. And development economists are a slightly strange breed in the sense that a lot of the topics that people are talking about today, in terms of both climate change, inequality, global health, inequities in the world, this has sort of been the bread and butter of my tribe, at least since I was a graduate student back in a previous century at MIT, along many moons ago. So in some sense, it's sort of only fair that we come back to these themes. And as a development economist, climate is very present, and is something which is very real for a development economist, because this affects all the various indicators that we love. I mean, my favorite indicator of development. Sometimes journalists ask me this name. I'm on leave as a professor at the Graduate Institute in Geneva. My favorite indicator is child anthropometrics. So for all the health people in the room, just know that development economists don't measure development. I mean, we measure development by things like income per capita, but actually much better measures are things like child anthropometrics, which brings in both health aspects, nutritional aspects, gender aspects, actually relative power within female empowerment, et cetera. This has sort of been bread and butter for the past 50 years in my tribe. And what we believe in is, that research is really important in terms of climate resilience. Or the lack of research or the lack of belief in science is a slight problem. I'm Canadian, so we have a slight problem south of our border in this respect. But but that's the way things are. But research is essential. And of course, I'm preaching to the converted. I'm an academic. Many of you in the room are academics, though not all of you. So we all believe that research is important. One of the key things about this conference is it allows people to collaborate. This is sort of a safe space, but it's a rare space in the international arena where we have people mainly people from the global south meeting each other in sort of a neutral space and able to discuss all of these issues. And so of course you see the title of the conference, but you can read as well as I can. So let me just give you a little bit of background. So as Francisco said, when he, or now I should say Mr. MC, I was threatening to have him wear a bow tie. In West Africa, MCs always wear bow ties at conferences, and quite often a tuxedo, but he refused. So GDN, as Francisco says, is 25 years old. So we were created by Joe Stiglitz, who in those days was the chief economist and senior vice president of the World Bank. Some of you, even if you're not economists, you may know of Joe. Won a Nobel Prize in the meantime, and he created GDN back in 1999 at a conference in Bonn. And so I wasn't there at that conference. The conference was called Bridging Knowledge and Policy. That was the title of that conference, and that's just as relevant today as it was back then. And one of the trademarks of our conferences. So I remember last year's conference. So I took over as president of GDN a little less than 2 years ago. And last year, so our conference was in Quito, in Ecuador, and I was talking with a senior person at the World Bank, or in my world of development economists, it's the bank. That's just the way we refer to the World Bank. And she was asking me, why should I come? What's different about your conference? It was on biodiversity last year. What's different about your conference than all the other conferences that that I get invited to? The answer for us is really simple. 80% of our budget goes to bringing people from the global south to the conference. That's where all the money goes. It's as simple as that. And that sets us apart from other international conferences in this sphere. And that's something we're very proud of. What we're also extremely focused on is this link between research and policy. Okay, so the term policy relevant gets bandied about, if I put it very scientifically, sort of in a bullshit fashion quite often. I don't think we bandy it about in a bullshit fashion at all. I mean, we take this is deadly serious for us. Research, again, I come from the sort of the world of pure research for 30 years, but as a development economist, there's always been, another way of putting this in my field, bad research leads to bad policy, leads to dead babies. It's as simple as that. And I'm not saying that good research necessarily leads to good policy, but at least generally it leads to less bad policy. And that's already pretty damn good. Economists, my profession is probably responsible for more deaths in the world than any other profession put together, I suspect, because of bad policies. Combining good development economics with good public health, with good climate science, you name it, the policy relevance angle of this is the focus of GDN. That's the first focus. The second focus is that it has to be locally driven. And again, I've been in this business. I've been in the development economics business since I finished my PhD back in '91. And sort of the standard way in which governments quite often operate is they get some consultant out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, or Paris, or now I'll show my age. And you remember, some of you may remember Yes Minister, British comedy series, right? The two universities in the UK. With people saying, I went the other place, right? Sir Humphrey Appleby. Look him up if you don't know. The kids in the room, look him up. It's some of the best British comedy ever. But the point is, It has to be locally based. And this is something that governments in the global south, quite often, they do not have this reflex. Their reflex is to get someone from the global north to do the research to inform policy. And that's what we fight against in some sense. That's our struggle. Now, it's been our struggle for 25 years. Manifestly, we have failed miserably in this struggle because we're still struggling. But it is a noble fight, and it is a fight that must go on. And GDN, in some sense, we're sort of one of these rare voices for researchers of the global south. Let me just tell you a story. A friend of mine who's Canadian, she moved a few years ago from a university in Quebec to a university in Morocco, where I also happen to teach, Mohammed VI Polytechnic University in Rabat in Morocco. And so same person, okay? So this is really, as economists like to put it, ceteris paribus, right? All other things held equal. She noticed that the rate of desk rejects that she got from editors, same person, given that she went from a university in Quebec to a university in Morocco, it doubled. Just because she was an institution in the global south. And this is something that researchers in the global south know very well, right? And there's been a whole bunch of studies on this. If you want to look it up, go and look up papers by PEP. They've done PEP. They've done stuff on this. And when you look at who publishes research on the global south, it's researchers from the global north, like 85%. Okay? So again, these are all truisms. Most of you are aware of this, but this is something that we bring up, that we at GDN bring up all the time. And we'll continue to bring up in a systematic fashion. Now, let's come back to climate. I've already mentioned, obviously, that climate is intertwined with sort of any development indicator that you'd care to mention. Well, again, let me take a sort of a political economy tack on this. And some of you in the room may have read The Logic of Collective Action by Mancur Olson, book back in the early 80s. I think, no, sorry, 65, I think, Mancur Olson. I think it's The Logic of Collective Action is 1965, one of the great political science books of all time. And what's going on, what just happened, or did not happen rather, in Baku is perfect Mancur Olson. It's exactly that. Similarly, another point, and this is why it's wonderful to be in Fiji, is back in the 1990s and the early 2000s, when economists, at least in my tribe, were getting into various horrible econometric estimations of the determinants of economic growth, there was a whole sub-literature on small states, in particular on small island states. And again, let me put this very scientifically, the asinine conclusion of some of my colleagues, I won't name them, Bill Easterly, can't stand his guts, who's at NYU. Bill Easterly basically had small states, small problems. I think that small states have just as big problems as large states, but this was a paper actually which got published by I think it was published by our geographer friends in World Development. So I lost respect for World Development a long time ago after seeing that paper, and my respect has not increased in the meantime, though I have published there once in a while. But it's got a good impact factor for a development journal. So I encourage you to go for World Development, despite that caveat. Anyway, it's just to say that these issues of climate and small states and the Pacific, which is all the states here and all the campuses of USP, these are issues that economists have worried about for a long time, and it's good that we're back to them. Now, as Francisco mentioned, so one of the things that I'm trying to do in my term as president of GDN is to expand membership, because we're an international organization. We're based on a treaty. I learned with two of my former students who were with me at a digital public infrastructure conference in Cairo a couple of months ago that GDN is actually one of only 168 entities in the world which is allowed to put .int at the end of its name. There are 168. You can look it up in Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge, right? But this was confirmed to me by people who actually know something about this. And as a treaty-based organization, the treaty is housed at the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. Up until recently, we had 5 member countries, which were India, Sri Lanka, Hungary, Spain, and Colombia. And in July, Fiji became the 6th member. And what I'm hoping is that this will be a catalyst that we can humiliate the initial countries, thanks to Fijian political support, into becoming more active in the organization, and in bringing in other member countries. I have one of my bosses here, Salim Rehan, who's from Bangladesh, who's on my board. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll be able to bring in Bangladesh in the near future, and there are other countries which are in our crosshairs. And I think that's important in making our organization stouter, if you pardon the expression. So finally, and I don't want to put you to sleep before you've even had a chance to have a coffee break. Let me conclude by putting a small philosophical bent on this. So as I said, I'm an economist. So economists are quite often associated with utilitarianism. There's another school of thought in economics. I was thinking about this on the plane. As getting here, you have a lot of time to think on planes, as most of you have now discovered. I also tend to sleep very well, so it's not a problem. But in one of my rare moments awake on the plane, when you think about climate change and resilience issues, but just climate change in general, and actually when you think about development, this is something that my tribe of development economists thinks about an awful lot. The only, I would argue, okay, feel free to disagree, the only reasonable social welfare function, both at the within country level or at the between country level, that you can actually adopt is Rawls. Okay, so for those of you who don't know Rawls, so John Rawls was sort of created the last great sort of philosophical system in some sense. He wrote this book called A Theory of Justice. A great philosopher, despite being at Harvard, a great philosopher. And he wrote this in 1971. And to put it in a nutshell, for economists in the room, Rawls, basically the social welfare function is what's known as the max-min criterion. That means, translated into words, you maximize, you choose policies that maximize the welfare of the least best off individual in society. Okay? And the philosophical justification for this, again, Rawls is a very thick book. If you want a really nice summary of Rawls, there's an absolutely brilliant paper by possibly one of the 2 smartest people of the 20th century, Kenneth Arrow, who could have won 3 Nobel Prizes in economics. Absolutely brilliant guy. It's his one paper that I know of in the Journal of Philosophy, 1973, which is a review of Rawls, actually. And he dissects Rawls in 6 pages as only Ken Arrow could. But the basic idea is that if the basic concept is the veil of ignorance. Right? The veil of ignorance, if you don't know whether you're going to be born into a rich family or a poor family, right? Well, then you'd better maximize the chances of the worst case scenario. Okay? Arrow shows, again, for the economists in this room, what Arrow shows is that this basically boils down to utilitarianism if people have infinite risk aversion. Okay? There's a very nice proof of this that's relegated to words in a footnote in the Journal of Philosophy. I used to give it as a problem set to my micro theory students. So they hated me for it because it's not an easy proof, actually. But the point is, you can transpose this idea, and people have done it, to between country comparisons also. And when you're thinking about climate, there's all these talks, of who's responsible, who should pay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's extremely important. The nitty-gritty, getting into the accounting of all this is extremely important. But the point is, if you want to sort of think of this in welfare terms, you should be thinking about maximizing the welfare of the countries that are the worst off. Okay? That's sort of the logical way of thinking of this. So with those Rawlsian thoughts, let me turn it over to USP. He's not trying to escape. He's just getting his talking points. We'll rope him in.
Well, colleagues, being a physics teacher, I am normally used to drawing the little diagrams on the board and then write those mathematical equations and then explain through my hands left, right, up and down. But today, I think both the hands look a bit tight now. Let me try. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends. On the behalf of the University of the South Pacific and our Vice Chancellor and President, Professor Paul Ahluwalia, it is my privilege to welcome you to the Global Development Conference 2024, hosted here at our university in partnership with the government of Fiji and the Global Development Network. For the Pacific, the climate change is more than a defining challenge of our era, and it is an existential threat to us. The sea level rise, the extreme terrestrial weather events, you have seen one little yesterday, and environmental degradation are causing the severe floods, coastal inundation, shoreline erosion, which make at the heart of our identities, cultures, and livelihood. Just amidst these challenges, the Pacific has always found the strength in the collective resolution of the issues. Our spirit of resilience, respect, and working together defines the USP, and it is region of 12 Pacific Island countries. We have worked tirelessly to a platform where the Pacific voices are heard, and this is one of them, and Pacific solutions are represented in the global research. By hosting this conference, the USP proudly reinforces the Fiji's global leadership in climate resilience and the positions itself as a cornerstone for driving the region's research agenda. The USP undertakes the research and innovation to address the needs and aspirations of our member countries and contribute internationally to the knowledge and production and transfer of the knowledge. Our research and innovation activities are around 5 multidisciplinary activities and cutting edge themes called strategic research themes, one of which is the oceans, ecosystems, and climate resilience. The strategic research themes are aligned with the United Nations Development Goals 2015-2030. And the 2050 Blue Pacific Continent strategies. I will urge all of you make a little internet search, write 2050 strategy, and you will get the entire document. 2050 strategy sets out our long-term approach to working together as a region and as countries, territories, communities, and the people of the Pacific. These efforts resonate strongly with the conference theme of this conference, the global synergies, the climate resilience strategies for the sustainable tomorrow. As the president of GDN has highlighted, the research plays a very critical role in addressing the regional challenges, bridging the policies and the practices. The collaborations with the partners like GDN are pivotal in scaling our research impact. Together, we aim to connect Pacific innovation and global expertise. As we embark on this important dialogue over the coming days, I urge and encourage all the participants to reflect on the climate resilience as a matter of urgency and survival. Let us leave here not just the ideas, but with a shared commitment to action, fostering partnerships and deepening research. On the behalf of University of the South Pacific, I extend my deepest gratitude to the partners, GDN, and organizers of bringing this extraordinary gathering to express and share the ideas. Once again, warm welcome to USP and the Global Development Conference 2024. Big thank you, Binaka Lebu in our local language. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our two speakers. So Professor Gloria Ko, GDN, and Professor Sushil Kumar from USP. Any last comments?
Just before doing the mic drop, I think I'm supposed to declare this conference officially open, right?
Yes.
So the conference is officially open.
Hooray!